Hey, what is up, guys? And today we're going to be talking about if I made my own Skylanders game, or if really Activision were going to make a new Skylanders game, what I would want to see.
But yeah, guys, that was my idea for my own Skylanders game.
So,
I hope you guys like it. Of course, there's going to be some games of stealth, such as Little Nightmares 2, Build Run, but see, those are my ideas. If your trigger comes, I'll share my ideas. I'll be respectful of your ideas. And we're going to have some returning characters like Drobot, so what I was thinking of when it comes to Sunburn, because we have not seen Sunburn in a million
but it's not like
something to do with the reality. Even Boomer.
It's like
but yeah, I just feel
it's
like
still going to be themed for everybody, but it's going to have some darker tones and stories, and we're going to be going to darker.
And of course, what's a Skylanders game? And I just feel like it'd be cool to see a new game that has reality with it. But yeah, of course, hopefully you guys like the video, like and subscribe, bite it,
going off in my room.
And hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Again, take these ideas with a grain of salt. Such
what
as
the main premise of the game is going to be is basically reality breaking.
It'd be pretty cool.
That's why I said that we're going to be going to a little more darker places.
If I could think of a
because
cool
we're not just
going
to be in Skylanders.
Let me know if you guys liked it.
Different universes,
of course, like and subscribe.
Not like a crossover, but we're going to go to
in
opposite dimensions and dimensions where things played out differently. Such as if Chaos won in Spyro's Adventure, or if everything was flipped on its head, which I think is a pretty interesting premise. But other than reality breaking is also time distortion. There's going to be a lot of different things about time and reality. So yeah, that's basically what the entire premise is about. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Now, some universes that I think we'll be going to is Spyro, Crash 4, or really any Crash game in general, I think, which is going to be pretty interesting, as well as Little Nightmares, which may be a little too dark, but I feel like Activision could think something about it, which would be pretty cool. A villain that I would really love to see when it comes to this game would be Ripto. There could be some other villains, of course, but I think one of the main villains that could show up is definitely Ripto. Or he could be a Skylander, who knows. But I think it would be pretty cool if he was just a villain in the game, because we'd be going to the Spyro Reignited Trilogy universe, which would mean we'd see other villains like Ganasty, Gnorc, or the Rhinox Queen, but I feel like Ripto would be the best choice for the villain of this game, which I think would be pretty cool, honestly, like I said. Now, I think there could be some returning crossover Skylanders that we could go to the universes of, too, such as Hammer Slam Bowser and Turbocharged Donkey Kong. We could be returning there if we would be returning to Crash's universe, which I think would be pretty cool if we got Mario or, hell, anybody else. Now, a suitable hub that I think would work perfect for this game is the ruins from the first game, but more specifically the ruins right after we defeat Chaos, which I find would be very suitable for one of the ideas I was thinking of, purely for the fact it's the first ever hub we were at, and it's when the Core of Light was still a thing, which means we could have a ways of traveling through different dimensions, what I think would be pretty cool to think about. Like, we could use the Core of Light to travel to Crash's universe, just like how we did to get to the Outlands, or the Badlands, where Chaos was whenever we were going to defeat him in Skylanders Spyro's Adventure, which I think is pretty cool because the Core of Light could be used as a traveling device. But there, of course, could be different options. I feel like this would just be the most suitable for the type of game this would be. Now, when it comes to the first game universe we'd be exploring, it would 100% be Spyro's universe. And it's a pretty simple reason why. Spyro is the reason why Skylanders exists, which I feel as if he should be represented in a way. So that's why I feel like we should go to Spyro's universe. And also, it'd be a great reason to bring the OG design of Spyro and a very special character that we'll be talking about in a bit when we get to characters. But I feel like this would be the perfect way to bring different characters, such as maybe Alora, Hunter, the Professor, anybody that we could really think of becoming Skylanders. Hell, maybe even Ganassi Gnorc, the Rhinox Queen, Bianca, and maybe even Ripto, kind of like how they did Chaos in Imaginators. They could have like a clone of him or something, which we could play as, which I feel would be pretty cool. I think just in general, this would be a pretty good idea, especially when it comes to it. Because again, Spyro's the reason why Skylanders exists. He's the reason it got popular in the first place, which I feel is really cool, honestly. And he should be respected in that way, that, well, he has his own representation in the game. And also, we could go to different places, like the artisans, magic crafters, beast makers, I believe it was called. I forgot the name of the other places. The other side of the Dragon World, I believe, is where Spyro 3 takes place. But it's just cool because there's so many possibilities when it comes to it. Now, when it comes to it, what is Spyro without Crash? And something I think would be pretty cool is that it wouldn't be any Crash game. It could be Crash 4. And the reason why is because Crash 4, it's about time. And yes, I know that's a horrible pun on the name, but it's true. It's about time, and it's also about realities. Because if you think about it, Entropy had a female version of himself, which means reality was also breaking too. So that is the perfect reason to bring Crash 4 into Skylanders. And also bring a lot of different characters too, which would be pretty cool. And I feel like it'd be just cool in general to visit the places in Crash 4 that we visited, or visit the places in Skylanders that we visited in Crash 4, like the past, the future. Like, we've already gone into the past and future in Skylanders, the first level in Giants, and the future Skylanders, or future Skylands in Trap Team. But I feel like we could go more in depth with that, which would be pretty cool. Because not only would reality be breaking in this game, it's also time, which is just such a cool thought to think about. Especially when it comes to it. I feel like these games just fit, because Crash and Spyro are basically, you can't have one without the other. And Spyro's the reason why Skylanders exist. And they already brought Crash in Imaginators, so you might as well bring him in this game, which I will reveal the title in the end of the video, but still. Now, this is where the game gets a little darker. I know that Little Nightmares 2 is definitely not a kid-friendly game, but I feel like with Activision, they could probably do something with the universe. Definitely, or at least bring Mono and Six into the game, which I feel would be pretty cool, because think about it. Mono definitely has some Skylander potential. When you think about it. And there could be some really creative soul gems with them. Like, Mono could spawn the Thin Man, or he could become the Thin Man for a second because of time distortion or something. But I'll get more into that when we discuss characters. But I just in general think that Little Nightmares 2 could have some definite possibilities. Because think about it, it has a very cartoonish design similar to Skylanders, and there's a lot of platforming in the game, which I feel is pretty cool. And I feel like they could make some pretty unique enemies, because there's some unique enemies in Little Nightmares. I feel like they could definitely tone it down a bit but make some pretty Little Nightmares-esque enemies, like the bullies. I feel like that's pretty cool. Some, like, stuff like that. I think that would be pretty fitting for Skylanders. Definitely not like the librarian or the doctor or the hunter, because, let's be honest, that's just not kid-friendly whatsoever, and it could cause major nightmares for some kids. But I feel like we could think of something pretty creative when it comes to it, because Little Nightmares has some true potential. But yeah, that is the last game I thought. Now, let's get into some characters, which I feel like I chose a pretty good roster when it comes to it. First of all, we have the Crash characters. I know that a lot of people didn't like Cortex, so let's just get Coco. Coco is basically just I feel like we could do her similar to Crash, but have her own sort of like abilities and stuff. So I don't know if any sort of like the Superchargers compared to their original, or the Supercharged Skylanders compared to their original ones. Like how similar to that, except not to a lesser extent. Like, she still has some similar moves to Crash, but she has her own flair and personality. Of course, Crash would most likely just be the same as he was in Imaginators. Sort of like a Series 2 of him, but of course in his Crash 4 design, not in his Crash Insane Trilogy design. And, of course, Coco would be the same. And for Soul Gem, I feel like their Soul Gem could 110% be the mask. Like, I feel like it's just too cool. I feel like Coco could have the time mask, and Crash could have I do not remember all the abilities. I believe it was anti-gravity, or it was the infinite spin or something like that. I feel like Crash could have that, and Coco could have the infinite time, which would be pretty cool for Soul Gems. And maybe that could be Crash's Wow Pow, which would be the infinite spin. But yeah, that's just some thoughts for these two characters so far. Now we're getting on to Six and Mono, which, again, it's a very far-fetched idea to think they would bring Little Nightmares into Skylanders, but it's my idea. I thought it was cool. Just take it with a grain of salt. But let's start with Mono. Mono would 100% have his not time distortion, but TV distortion powers. I feel like he'd definitely have those sort of powers, and it'd be pretty cool to see it. Like, he could spawn Shadow or Static Kids. I don't remember what you call them, but he could just spawn those out of nowhere, which I feel like would be pretty cool. And then, like I said when I was talking about the game, pitching the idea for Little Nightmares 2 to be in it, I feel like his Soul Gem could be him becoming the Thin Man for a little bit, which would be pretty cool. Now, when it comes to Six, I don't really know what her abilities would be, but I do know one of the abilities would probably be to spawn gnomes, or I do not remember what they're called, but you probably know what they're called, so. But I feel like that'd be pretty cool for her just to have that as an ability. So there's not really that many ideas for Six and Mono. I know they definitely be characters, though, that you could play as. And when it comes to variants, I feel like Mono would probably have, like, him without a mask or his bag on his head. I feel like that'd definitely be a variant. Like, maybe a GameStop exclusive, or I was going to say Toys R Us, rest in peace. But yeah, that's basically all I have for Mono and Six. But I feel like it'd still be pretty cool to see them. And we're moving on. And now we're on to the obvious two, Cinder and Spyro. Also, if you were wondering who's the secret character, it was Cinder. Now, this game is going off the premise if Spyro 4 had released before it, I have a feeling we'd see Cinder and Spyro 4. But this is definitely what I think they'd both look like, which is pretty cool, honestly. But yeah, definitely they'd have pretty much the same abilities except for flight. Flight would be gone because Spyro can't fly in Reunited trilogies, and I have a doubt that Cinder would fly either. Technically, they could glide, but that's just if you hold A. That'll be like just a special ability that only those two can do, where you hold A and they can glide for a second. Like if you jump off of something and you just want to glide over to the next area. But, excuse me, I've been talking for a while now. But, they definitely have basically the same abilities, same paths, except Cinder wouldn't have her Shadow Dash. I think that they would probably replace it with one of the abilities she had, like maybe Wind Flurries or something. Something that was in Legend of Spyro that they could put instead of the Shadow Dash, which I know was kind of like one of her biggest traits in Spyro's Adventure and Giants, and all the time she showed up. But when it comes to it, I don't think that really fit for Reignited Trilogy, or Reignited Trilogy version of Cinder. And then Spyro would basically just be the same. Yeah, I have nothing. He'd basically be the same because that's just Spyro. But yeah, that's them.